Good morning. Happy Saturday, June 8th, 2024. It is a gorgeous day here in New Jersey. We've been experiencing some stellar weather this last couple days after breaking the heat from a nice storm a couple nights ago. I'm out on a walk. I've been enjoying the early mornings and all the wonderful nature. And I haven't been on here in a minute. It's been Uranus kind of kicked my butt. Lots of shifts and changes and updates and news and lots of things to process, let's just put it that way. And so I haven't gotten a chance to come on here and talk about all of that big energy. You know, I did talk about the Uranus conjunctions in my last video, just to give a sense. But what I thought I would talk a little bit more today is about like what we're dealing with this weekend, and through the energy will be there over the next week. We've got a few things that have the new moon we just had, for instance, actually on the 6th, was in Gemini, 16 degrees, and it was conjunct Venus, which is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. The issue was it was squaring Saturn. And today Venus is perfectly squaring Saturn. You know, it's in the exact square. So that does to me that yes, it was a great new moon to set our intentions, particularly in the Gemini domain. But Saturn is kind of keeping check on us, because when it comes to Gemini, you know, we're working with duality. Generally speaking, it's something we're more curious about and we're exploring. And all of those Uranus conjunctions and Jupiter conjunction, you know, between the two, all of them that happened over the last few weeks in May. For some of us it was jarring. For some people not, particularly fixed signs. They've been going through it. Where if you have strong fixed placements, meaning in Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio, those signs, because they're squaring everything that was in Taurus. So Uranus is still there, but Jupiter has moved out. It's moved into Gemini, as has Venus, as has Mercury. And as the sun, and obviously the moon was there this week with the new moon. So normally with new moons, we're setting intentions and putting the seeds in the ground to grow over time. And but because of this square with Saturn, but there's not just that, there's also a square between Mars and Pluto. And that energy is sort of, let's talk about the Saturn energy first. Saturn is getting ready to go retrograde later this month. Saturn as it is there to slow things down, create delays, make sure we're checking through our processes before we move forward. Saturn is all about building things in a very, efficient way, but also sustainable way. You know, what's something I can build? Saturn and if you know anybody who's Capricorn, this is that kind of nature. Capricorns are very interested in building like a legacy and building something that's earthy, that's, you know, they've had to keep working at their whole life, and they don't stop until they get to the top. So Saturn has some of that kind of those qualities to it, where it wants to make sure we're doing it the right way, that we're using our time, our energy, and our abilities in efficient ways and in structures that will be, you know, sustainable for the future and supportive for the future. So this weekend, as a result of that, so Saturn's in Pisces, and so it's squaring all of the planets that have now moved into Gemini. Like I said, Venus today being the first, so, and then Mercury and the Sun. So there's three, it's like boom, boom, boom. Saturn's kind of having this, nope, don't go past go yet. You know, like slow down, let's talk about this with those three planets. So it really means, you know, just slow down some decision making, slow down your communications. Don't make any decisions maybe, you know, this weekend regarding finances or relationships, because it is Venus. And just kind of starts, to me, I feel that Saturn, one of the things that's cool about Saturn when it's slowing us down, it's trying to give us an opportunity to tune in with ourselves. Because there's other planets like Mars that are always trying to move us forward. And what's interesting is Mars is currently in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's also fixed Earth. So Mars doesn't get to move too quickly in Taurus. But what I like about it, because it is slowing Mars's energy down, is it's that Mars has an interest in actually building something, manifesting, materializing something, and putting its energy into something that's going to be in the Taurus nature. Like, let's create new structures. So I like that Mars is in a sign that's also not its sign, so it can't go too fast. So it feels to me like we're getting this opportunity after all these Uranus conjunctions and Jupiter conjunctions, which is going to affect the way that we think and perceive, or even see the world, our perspective on things. It's going to shift that. And now this is like the week I would say, just take that all in, process that, think about your options. We've been in a very, whether you realize it or not, we've been programmed the way that we are. We're programmed in 100 different ways. We're programmed by society. We're programmed by our laws. We're programmed by our parents. We're programmed by our jobs. We're programmed by our, romantic relationships. We're programmed by our siblings. Yet we're programmed more than we think we are. And I always think of this image of like we all have a blindfold on, and we think we're kind of stuck somewhere. But the truth is, if you just took the blindfold off, you can literally go wherever you want. There's nothing in your way. It's these perceptions we have of limitations. Again, Saturn. So I think this is a moment where we have an opportunity to start turning more, slowing ourselves down. Don't make too many decisions out there, but take the time to evaluate and reconnect with yourself. And like, is this the direction I want to go, or have I been choosing this direction because of my own limitations in perspective? Am I choosing this because this is what's expected of me? Am I choosing this because this is the society I live in and it demands it of me? We are, as I've been talking about, I don't know, it's got to be going on 5-6 years easy. I've honestly been feeling this very strongly since just before the 2016 election. Just this shaking of our structures. And, we are really coming now to the point where we can all, I don't think any of us can deny the lack of support our structures now provide us. And the thing that we have really damaged inside of being kind of in these programmed settings is our ability to invent, our ability to create, our ability to just, take what comes to us and take inspired action and move forward. And we're, to me, with Saturn and Pisces is a very, it's a spiritual sign, it's a mystical sign. It's very, it's supported with the arts. It's why I do think like art is enormously helpful for us, because what we're going through, we can't always put words to, but we can kind of, we express ourselves all the time. And so being able to put ourselves into creative opportunities. And when I say creative, I think a lot of people jump to like fine arts, and that's not what being creative is about. Being creative is as simple as taking ingredients of any form and bringing them together to create something that wasn't there before. It's creating something new. Now, that doesn't mean it hasn't ever been created before. It just means you've taken things and you've created something, and that's the act of creativity. And I believe that is something that has been very consciously tapped down in our society, because when we have access to that aspect of ourselves, when we have access to our imaginations, when we have access to critically thinking, because we can zoom out a little bit further. A lot of times when we're in any kind of fear states, guilt states of overwhelm, it's very difficult to zoom out and see the full picture of what's going on. And as a result of that, it can be really disarming. So that's the thing I think is good for us to start getting comfortable with, is new ways of doing things. And what I've been really telling my clients to work with is work with even just new rituals. So for instance, if you tend to wake up and your first thing is to pour coffee, or to, pick up the phone, or to even to take a shower, maybe try something, a new way of starting your day. And it really is not so that you have to stay with that, or it's to play with yourself, so to speak. Play with the way you do things so that you have the opportunity to even question, why do I do it this way? And is it really serving me? And is there a more playful, Gemini, way of doing things? And for me, that's a mission of mine, is to make healing more playful, because guess what? This world we're in, that's what it requires. If you want to live in a satisfied, fulfilling experience here on Earth in this lifetime, for many of us, we have to do healing work. Why? Because most of us, it's very rare I can actually find anyone that this isn't the case for, because it's generational. We have generational ancestors, our parents and their parents and beyond, that have had crazy, wild, traumatic things happen to them. For many of us, at least here, like in the States, that are my age and younger, we don't really have a true experience of what war will feel like, particularly in our world. Unless you are someone who quite literally was in the military, but again, not on our land, which I think we're in something, right now, where we're witnessing what occurs in our realities, in our worlds, in other parts of the world. And in a lot of ways, the ways that we detach from all of that. And I'm not saying this because I think everybody should be, keeping their eyes peeled to the news and aware of what's going on and doing everything, as it relates to those countries that are involved in this situation and the people that are directly involved with this situation. What it calls to me is that when something like that is going on in somewhere else in the world, we energetically need to rebalance what we're doing, because that exists because of what we aren't doing, here. That, everything, there's action and reaction. We know about this. We hear about these terms our whole life. So I just think of the globe as one big energetic ball, and it's like a seesaw. Something can be going on over here that's amazing and expansive, and then there's something over here that is destructive and painful. I hate to tell you folks, this is life. Does that mean that war always has to exist? No, I don't think so. But because of our limitations in our abilities to create, because of our limitations in our abilities to perceive, because of our limitations to recognize that we are sovereign beings who have the ability to move in this world in ways we've never seen, that is what is being brought to our attention. Why? Because the structures that are going on over there, one, we're supporting quite literally as a country. But for those that, I'm not going to talk sides, this, that, whatever. It's Gemini, so I'm going to be very mindful of the way we even speak of polarity and the two sides of every coin. But it's important, I think, that we take responsibility for our own experience, because when we are focused somewhere else, we are missing the instructions we are meant to be following, which we don't know where those things will ultimately lead or how those will eventually impact this thing that's going on over there. So it's critical for us to stop thinking of us, and this is why I do think Uranus is in Taurus right now, because we think of ourselves very much like hard matter. We don't think of ourselves as energetic beings, and our abilities to, alchemize and transform, and like I said, create something practically from nothing. Never mind all our intuitive abilities that we have access to that most people are not even nearly tapped into. I think they're starting this Uranus in Taurus, because Taurus rules the body, Earth rules the body. I feel like we're getting what I would call upgrades to start being able to do that with at higher levels and higher levels. Some of us, those of us particularly like myself, who've kind of been roaming in this realm for a while now, like anybody else, are being asked to it's kind of like the only words I could use is step it up. And I don't mean that in a forceful way. I see it in a vibrational way. And it doesn't mean like higher is better, but it means to me that there's a frequency that if we move into that frequency, we will be able to perceive things in ways we haven't before. And that's what we need to be paying attention to. We can't keep turning to the ways we've done things. We can't try and solve problems the way that we have, quote unquote, with force. It doesn't work. Never has. And there are energies on this planet that are very well aware of that, and very well aware that as long as that's the case, they can still make a lot of money off of it. And they're aware that they're only here for a certain amount of time, and they don't really care how that impacts the rest of humanity. So I'm saying this because you're getting your own version of where you have to step it up. Elevate out of limiting experience. Trust me, it's a good thing. Where we've been, whether you realize it or not, has a lot of feelings of feeling trapped, immobile. Like, talk about non-expansive, like, trapped is the word I tend to feel. And because especially like as women, it's like, you could look at all this quote unquote work that's been done for decades, and I can't say that even that work has been done with true honesty, and I mean, again, there were powers that be, I think, that see anything that has happened as financial and capitalistic opportunity. So, but my point being, like, as women on this planet, to be just watching the games getting played with quote unquote our rights, I don't want to undermine the importance of it, but we have to put it in perspective. If we are going to allow a few people to disrupt our energetic systems because of things they put through the media or things they quote unquote sign, and we're not actually even experiencing completely I mean, we are in some regards, but if you aren't, you got to stay in your own lane. And that's my point, is one of the hardest things for humans to do is stay in their own lane and take responsibility. Saturn, for your own duality. Gemini, you need to take responsibility for that. You need to take responsibility for how you are showing up. No relationship, no twin flame, no romance is going to do it for you. No parent is going to do it for you. No child of yours is going to do it for you. You have to do this for yourself. And I can't tell you, this is why I do astrology, because what I love about it is, for me, my life has been very, I've had a lot of pressure. I have felt an enormous amount of pressure my entire life, and I didn't actually understand why. And, there's many of us that have this experience of like, I'm here to do big things. And I don't mean it like mine's bigger or smaller than anyone else. What it means is, for me, that the work I'm here to do is actually around setting a new paradigm, putting the seeds down for a world that I'm not going to participate in, and being okay with that it's not about me. What is about me is me getting to express myself and follow my soul work while I'm on the planet, trusting it is here for me. That's the difference, and why I think for most of us, we will follow media, social media, we'll follow our neighbors, we'll follow our classmates, we follow all these people thinking, oh, they're doing this and they're getting those results, I should follow them. You're very unique. I mean, we're all human, yes. And we all have lots of mechanisms that are similar, but how they get set off, when they get set off, when they go into development, when they're never in development, is different for all of us. As an example, I have all these people I talk to that have all these major Pluto transits going on, like a Pluto conjuncting, meaning on top of one of their personal planets, particularly my Capricorn folks that have things in the late degrees of Capricorn or the early degrees of Aquarius, where Pluto's been transiting. For some of us, we will never have that. There's a chance I could live, it's probably about 84, 90, but I may not get to the point where that Pluto will make it to my moon. So the people that are dealing with that are way different than the people who were dealing with, Saturn, sitting on a planet, and the things that comes with that, and the restrictions or, delays or, way that their life unfolds is going to be different. And what I believe this moment is really about is owning the two parts of us, the physical side of us, as well as the spiritual soul side of us. Those two parts of us that we've got to be working in tandem with at all times. We can't just dive into the spiritual and neglect our bodies. We can't neglect our bills. We can't neglect, those aspects of living. We also can't ignore the bigger thing going on every day that is trying to say, let me guide you today. And I would just ask you this weekend to take some time with yourself and sit with that a little bit. What am I doing that maybe I'm doing because I think I'm supposed to do it? Is there a better way? Can I relax into a new experience? And I say relax as we're talking Venus. And this new moon being conjunct Venus, bringing in this feminine quality of being able to receive, and in this case, I think of our intuitive abilities, receive the information that way versus in this, Gemini can be, everybody's talking, lots of gossip, and, it's curious, it's asking all the questions. It's great, but we got to settle that when we're taking in this research and information we're taking in, and pay attention to the Piscean aspect of us, which is, rules our 12th house. It's the unconscious, the subconscious, the unseen. And it rules that 12th house that's also can contain hidden talents as well as hidden enemies. So we want to be paying attention to what's hidden. If there's anything I'm dealing with right now, that's what I'm dealing with, is things that have kind of been hidden from my view for a long time. Whether that's actually inside of me or quite literally in my world. There's just things that are kind of coming up out of nowhere that unexpected. And I'll be honest, it's going to change my life. I have no preconceived notion otherwise. Because it honestly feels, when I look at my chart, the things that are going on right now are finally having me see how that chart is going to be implemented really for this second half of my life. I'm 45, so I really see, 46, turned 46 this year, or month. So I know, I'm talking like a Gemini right now. My Venus is in Gemini, so a lot of this energy is on my own Venus. And I just think it's a good time to slow down, talk to yourself, have more thoughtful conversations with your friends, be curious, ask them questions, ask them how they're experiencing things. That is a better way to engage with each other right now, so that it keeps us staying with ourselves as well, where we're talking about our processes. What are we gaining from it? What are we seeing that we haven't seen before? How are we reckoning with any major changes that have happened for us? And I know for a lot of us, major change happened in May because of that, all those Uranian conjunctions. So, all right, that's all I got for now. Thanks for being on my walk with me. Happy Pride Month for all those who are participating. I will be celebrating here today, locally in Montclair. And what I love about today, especially after this conversation I have, and that this is, Pride Month, is, when we think about the rainbow, actually you should look up the symbol of the rainbow and what each of those colors represents. And that's actually kind of a cool way of even integrating, that we all have that within us, and that's the idea. So, but do we honor that? And what I love about Pride is it's this opportunity to, especially as we're here in the States at least, we're in the peak of summer, heading towards the solstice, and it's a great time to be expressive. So, especially with this Gemini energy for the remaining week or two that it's there. Okay, I think that's all I got for you. I'll be back at some point. I'm not going to say when because I don't know. A lot going on in my life. For those of you that have been in my world, whether you've been a friend, whether you've been a patient, a client, I honestly just want to say thank you, my family, etc. Because I'm going through an enormous amount of change right now. I mean, my life, I haven't known it to not be like that, to be honest. Uranus rules my midheaven, so it's a lot about that aspect of me being quite public, and a part of my work around liberation and helping people to liberate themselves. And I love the work. It's very satisfying. But it's not for the faint at heart. This experience I'm having, it's very humbling. Very humbling. And I've had to really look at all my people-pleasing, which I thought I had dealt with a level of people-pleasing. Again, Gemini can also have some of that quality as well, like Libra, the air signs. That people-pleasing-ish in our communication. And so I'm just really aware, trying to stay aware of that as I'm setting down foundations as to where those little sneaky things are happening. And so I've really slowed myself down to an uncomfortable level. And I just keep saying, come on, any day now, I'm ready to kind of go to this next level. But I keep hearing, you have to understand, you got to be some form of a model for people who don't even know what's going on. You've got to help people just see someone who's doing something that's kind of, I mean, in my world, I mean, while you don't know the details of it, there's just a lot going on. And so for a lot of us, we really try to control our lives and get them prescriptive so we can control them in a lot of ways, in the way that they unfold. And Uranus is like, that's not my party. That's not how we do things. So I'm really embracing that part of myself in a really loving way. That this part of myself that otherwise, not that I had shame about, but especially going through the pandemic and other things where there was a lot of that cancel culture going on, and I experienced things from humans I had never experienced before, frankly, in their ways of not allowing any other perspective into their life. And, you know, whatever, doesn't matter. My point being, there's going to be a reckoning with that as well. There's a large group of people that kind of have been trying to tell others what's been going on in this world in a lot of different ways. And there's another mainstream part of us, the people who are very programmed into, quote unquote, the American democratic system and holding it up, except that it's not democratic. So you got to make sure the actual values are there. I mean, all you're doing, everybody's talking about right now, is explaining how it's not. So if it's not, let's be honest about that. And let's be honest about the things we were told that were not true. Let's be honest about if we're going to have an election, all candidates should participate in debates. You know, it's kind of how it goes, not just the two that are going to keep this sinking ship going. So it's going to require you to finally stand up. I'm going to be honest, it isn't easy. Those years were not easy for me. I had a business, I had a private practice. Navigating that inside of that environment was not easy, but what I have now is a level of trust in myself as I'm literally watching all the things that I said and felt that's happening. And while there can be moments where I get angry about how certain people have treated me over that time period, some of you may be listening, and unless we've had direct conversations, then, you know, but I say that because there's some of us that really need to keep moving and not let that, what had happened in that time to us, keep us in any level of fear. If anything, I'm hoping it really strengthened most of us to go, like, there's nothing to be afraid of except fear itself, and we might as well do something, you know? If we're going to be persecuted anyway, then you might as well be doing good for humanity in the process. At least that's how I see it, you know? My whole point of being here is for humanity. I don't have an agenda that's political in that nature at all. I care about the earth, I care about species, and I care about them remembering they're interdependent, and that anything we do, from turning that faucet on in the morning to brush our teeth, like, we're not aware of all of the things that are behind that every time we turn on that faucet and the decisions that went into that. And that is the point of our life. We're so disconnected in a lot of ways from how we live and how we got to this point. And so I'll be honest, I'm super excited about it because I've never understood this world to be a good one in the sense of truth. I've always been fighting for that. I was raised with parents that worked in a hospital system, so I saw the truth of a lot of people's human experiences right up front and center, being in the hospitals a lot. And then going into the medical world and counseling world and therapeutic world myself. So it's my highest mission, is to make this not just an inhabitable planet, but one that is loaded with creativity and imagination and leaves these generations of kids with a possibility. If you're not sure what to do, ask yourself if the thing you're doing is going to help a child 20 years from now. And it gets that basic as far as how you can start making those changes, because that's how we have to start thinking. All right, I love you, and I love you for any attention you're paying to this conversation that I'm having with you, or the one that the universe is having with you. Please don't stop talking about your interpersonal experiences and your transformative experiences. We need to make that normal. And that's why I, in a lot of ways, closed my practice, because healing can't keep happening behind closed doors. Yes, we need moments where we're behind closed doors for healing, but the conversation of healing has to start coming out into the mainstream, and we need to start taking it seriously if we ever want to see a world that's not ridden with ancestral trauma and violence. So, happy Gemini season. Get out. This is a really good time to be with others. So like I said, while you're focusing on yourself, have deeper conversations, because Gemini can stay surface. But make sure you have some fun. Laugh about this stuff. It is kind of heavy at times, but we got to laugh. And if I've figured out one of the things for me that's helped a lot, it's really being around people who keep me laughing. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. See you soon.